I'm Jennifer I from the Atlanta City Council, representing District 6 and this year's chair of the Finance Executive Committee.
Do you have a question, comment, or a suggestion related to the City of Atlanta's proposed fiscal year 2021 budget? The Atlanta City Council wants to hear from residents and stakeholders. Which services do you feel need to be prioritized in the fiscal year 2021 budget, which begins July 1st? The general fund budget is set at $673.4 million. There are several ways to reach out and submit your questions and comments to the Council today and during the virtual town hall meeting Tuesday, June 2nd at 6:15 p.m. Send your email to budgettalk@atlantaga.gov. If you'd prefer, you can submit a video of your question, as long as it's 15 seconds or less. For social media, tweet us at ATL Council using the hashtag ATLBudget. Submit your questions by messaging us on our Facebook page at ATL Council. To call in your questions, dial 404-546-1928, or you can text us at 404-548-2885.
We know how important the city budget is to you. We welcome your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
Hi, I'm Jennifer I from the Atlanta City Council, representing District 6 and this year's chair of the Finance Executive Committee.
Do you have a question, comment, or a suggestion related to the City of Atlanta's proposed fiscal year 2021 budget? The Atlanta City Council wants to hear from residents and stakeholders. Which services do you feel need to be prioritized in the fiscal year 2021 budget, which begins July 1st? The general fund budget is set at $673.4 million. There are several ways to reach out and submit your questions and comments to the Council today and during the virtual town hall meeting Tuesday, June 2nd at 6:15 p.m. Send your email to budgettalk@atlantaga.gov. If you'd prefer, you can submit a video of your question, as long as it's 15 seconds or less. For social media, tweet us at ATL Council using the hashtag ATLBudget. Submit your questions by messaging us on our Facebook page at ATL Council. To call in your questions, dial 404-546-1928, or you can text us at 404-548-2885.
We know how important the city budget is to you. We welcome your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
Hi, I'm Jennifer I from the Atlanta City Council, representing District 6 and this year's chair of the Finance Executive Committee.
Do you have a question, comment, or a suggestion related to the City of Atlanta's proposed fiscal year 2021 budget? The Atlanta City Council wants to hear from residents and stakeholders. Which services do you feel need to be prioritized in the fiscal year 2021 budget, which begins July 1st? The general fund budget is set at $673.4 million. There are several ways to reach out and submit your questions and comments to the Council today and during the virtual town hall meeting Tuesday, June 2nd at 6:15 p.m. Send your email to budgettalk@atlantagA.gov. If you'd prefer, you can submit a video of your question, as long as it's 15 seconds or less. For social media, tweet us at ATL Council using the hashtag ATLBudget. Submit your questions by messaging us on our Facebook page at ATL Council. To call in your questions, dial 404-546-1928, or you can text us at 404-548-2885.
We know how important the city budget is to you. We welcome your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you.
Can one girl in a small town, an architect in a major city, and a suburban high school coach shape the future of the United States? Yes, they can. Because every 10 years, the census gives us that power. You can shape your future by responding to the 2020 census. Where do we need new roads to make our lives easier? Where will new school programs help our children thrive? Where could a new health clinic benefit neighborhoods? The 2020 census will inform these decisions and shape how billions of dollars will be distributed to communities like yours each year. And in 2020, you can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. Now is the time for you to get involved. Your community needs you. Together, we can educate and excite, inspire and make sure every voice is heard. Together, we can shape our future.
Hi, I'm Jennifer I from the Atlanta City Council, representing District 6 and this year's chair of the Finance Executive Committee.
Do you have a question, comment, or a suggestion related to the City of Atlanta's proposed fiscal year 2021 budget? The Atlanta City Council wants to hear from residents and stakeholders. Which services do you feel need to be prioritized in the fiscal year 2021 budget, which begins July 1st? The general fund budget is set at $673.4 million. There are several ways to reach out and submit your questions and comments to the Council today and during the virtual town hall meeting Tuesday, June 2nd at 6:15 p.m. Send your email to budgettalk@atlantagA.gov. If you'd prefer, you can submit a video of your question, as long as it's 15 seconds or less. For social media, tweet us at ATL Council using the hashtag ATLBudget. Submit your questions by messaging us on our Facebook page at ATL Council. To call in your questions, dial 404-546-1928, or you can text us at 404-548-2885.
We know how important the city budget is to you. We welcome your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you.
Here.
Councilmember Quita Winslow.
Here.
Councilmember Michael Julian Bond.
Here.
Is Councilmember Hillis on the line?
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd, we have a quorum and all members are on the line.
And the council president is well.
Is that Ms. Moore? I'm sorry, you're a little muffled, Ms. Moore. Is that was Ms. Moore?
Yes, I'm here as well.
Okay. And what about Ms. Smith? I know a moment ago she texted me and said she was trying to get in also. Is Ms. Smith here? Okay. Okay. All right. So to that point, I do believe we have a quorum. All right. So we will officially call the meeting to order. Sorry for the delay, guys. Number one is our Community Development and Human Service Committee meeting went late. And as a matter of it going late, we also are now late starting our meeting. We had some technical difficulty today also. So with that, I'm Councilmember George Shepherd, the chair of this committee. And we, based on the roll call, we officially have a quorum and we will call the meeting to order. Ms. Lindo, would you go ahead and ask you to give out information about our virtual meetings and the poll process, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Corinne Lindo. Today's Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee meeting will be conducted remotely as advertised and in accordance with the Georgia Code Section 50-14-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting conference bridge toll-free by dialing 877-579-6743 and entering conference ID number 831-599-1256. This information was also provided on the Friday, May 22nd, 2020 public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26 and on the City Council homepage at citycouncil.atlanta.ga.gov. The meeting is also streaming live on the Council's Facebook and Twitter pages at ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council website on the Public Safety and Legal Administration presentation page. Today's meeting agenda was published and made available on Friday, May 22nd via the city's web at atlantacitygaiqm2.com. In addition, the public was able to submit comments via voicemail at 404-330-6022 up to 1 hour prior to this meeting. These comments will be played during the public comment portion of this meeting. All persons present on the remote council meeting conference page are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Meeting participants wishing to speak must be acknowledged by the committee chair. Amendments, substitutes, and informational documents have been distributed to committee members beforehand. Thank you all for your cooperation.
Thank you, Ms. Lindo. The next item on our agenda is items number C and D, which is an adoption of the agenda and approval of the minutes. May I entertain a motion for those particular items, please?
Motion to approve, Hillis.
Is there a second?
Winslow, second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve the agenda and the minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. So we're now at the part of our agenda for public comment. Ms. Lindo, do we have anyone for public comment?
Madam Chair, we have one public comment and our staff will play that now.
All right. Thank you.
Greetings to you, committee members and staff, and special greetings to you, participating citizens of Atlanta. Ken Howard, Chief Advocate, Public Policy Analyst. They say we are all in this together in this pandemic, but I'm not sure that all of us think that way. Reportedly, the chair of the Continental Colony Neighborhood Association, Alfred White, feels he does not have to work with the members of his association, but feels he can get everything he needs done regarding new Continental Colony developments by working with Lynette L. Scott, the perennial chair of the NPUR Zoning Committee. By perennial chair, I mean, if one could ever get their hands on the minutes of the NPUR Zoning Committee meetings, it would be interesting to see how Lynette L. Scott has been allowed to chair that committee for nigh on to 2 decades. In this area of the pandemic, we need to be transparent about all new development activities, and it wouldn't hurt if residents were allowed to cast a vote about if and how those developments should proceed and what safety precautions are being taken, if any. And wouldn't it be nice if the NPUR9 was to speak out about the shootings within senior zones along Campbellton Road, especially since the Andrew and Walter Young Family YMCA has announced that it will be opening its doors within cautionary measure to accommodate the young folks within the NPUR neighborhoods. So NPUR 9, How about coming out of your cocoons and taking an active part in the safety of your community? Instead of just waiting once a month to participate in and control your 16-minute NPUR meeting. Eyes are upon you, Antonina Robinson, Wallace Clare, Ricardo Jacobs, Alfred White, Sherry Williams, Renette L. Scott. Eyes are upon you, NPUR 9 and cohorts, expecting you to do the right thing.
Is that it, Ms. Lindo?
That concludes public comments, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We'll now move to presentations. We have a presentation today, a quarterly presentation from Chief Randall Slaughter and the First Deputy Chief Byron Kennedy. Chief Slaughter, are you with us today?
Boy, another.
Hello?
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Just a little louder, please, if you can.
Hold on a second. All right, how about now?
That's better.
All right. Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair, Council President Moore, and other distinguished members of Council. Hopefully you all had a very relaxing Memorial Day weekend.
You went down a little bit, Chief Slaughter. Chief Slaughter, you went down just a little bit more. I was having the same problem earlier today myself, so you may have to work with it just a little bit.
Okay, I'm inside the headquarters, and reception is not that good here. I'll talk as loud as I can.
Okay.
But anyway, I hope you all had a very relaxing Memorial Day weekend. I am Fire Chief Randall B. Slaughter, and I am joined on the call today by First Deputy Chief Byron Kennedy, as well as other Deputy Chiefs Glenn Riley, Rod Smith, Ingrid Dixon, Antonio Webb, Jimmy Giddens, and Michael Winfrey. And other members of AFRD are more than likely listening in as well. Chief Kennedy and I will be tag teaming this third quarter presentation for the Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department. Let me begin, as I always do, by thanking you for your tremendous and continuous support of me as Fire Chief, as well as the brave men and women of AFRD. And I'm also very thankful for your alignment with Mayor Bottoms, as she has made an unparalleled commitment to support the city's public safety personnel and their families. I must note that, as you can probably imagine, most of what we had planned for third quarter FY20 initially went to the wayside to make way for us to deal with the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. I am extremely proud to announce to you today that AFRD is in excellent shape. As of this morning, we have only two members in quarantine, and one of those was quarantined due to contact with a family member who tested positive. Of the 26 members previously quarantined and 8 total who tested positive, all have returned to normal duty as of today. Contrast that with other big city departments who even today have hundreds of firefighters either in quarantine or infected. I am extremely proud of our brave men and women and believe that you should be also, particularly the way in which they have performed during this third quarter. As I told our leadership team back in early February, there are no lessons learned or historical perspective other than ours on leading AFRD through a global pandemic. Having said that, I believe we have performed thus far as well as any fire department in the nation. The team and I contribute our good fortune in large part to early and decisive actions taken early in the pandemic timeline. In late January, early February, we began preparing the organization for a worst-case scenario. Some of the early defensive strategic measures were centered around protecting our workforce, to be in place to do the things for this city that only we can do, i.e., fight fires, respond to hazardous materials releases, and other heavy rescue emergencies, and EMS calls of a very serious nature. As such, we took the following actions. We canceled all non-emergency activities department-wide, identified mission-critical members, and placed all others in a telework capacity, closed the interior portions of fire stations to the public, and that included the family and friends of on-duty personnel. We instituted medical screenings of all members reporting to work. This included myself and the other mission-critical members who continue to work at Public Safety Headquarters. We ordered a significant amount of PPE, not knowing what we may face in the upcoming months. Reassigned sworn members from sections such as training, background and recruitment, and inspection to those areas we anticipated would be heavily taxed, such as EMS, field operations, and communications. We modified our response protocol in collaboration with Grady EMS and E911 to allow Grady to respond solo to calls where the patient's chief complaint was flu-like symptoms. Council, this was critical early on as many fire chiefs reported losing whole companies on a single call for service. We developed a protocol to perform welfare checks on our retirees as we realized that they were in the at-risk population. But probably the single most impactful early action we took was we developed a platform called the Weekly Safety Stand-Down, whereby we could keep our members informed with real-time information from the CDC, the World Health Organization, our medical director, Dr. Waterman, and other credible sources. This enhanced communication became our best remedy for dealing with our firefighters' anxiety, and to be honest, in some cases, fear of being on the front line of this pandemic. Over the past month or so, we have transitioned to a more offensive posture to dealing with the pandemic. We have visited over 100 of our super users of E911. In many cases, these were the senior facilities, to perform welfare checks and provide information relative to slowing the spread of the virus. Also, we have participated in 3 community food drives. And just this past weekend, we partnered with the Joshua Stoops Foundation to distribute 3,500 donated masks at 9 different locations throughout the city. All in all, Council, I report today that AFRD is in great shape. We are doing extremely well. And I believe we will be an even more resilient organization when we get to the other side of COVID-19. With that, I will turn it over to Chief Kennedy to cover our slides, and subsequently we will answer any questions that you may have. Chief Kennedy?
Thank you, Chief. How's my volume today?
That's good.
All right, wonderful. All right, so I will start on slide number 2. I'm certain that each committee member is familiar with our mission and our vision statement, so I won't recite them as we normally do. However, I think that it's important that we mention them to every stakeholder who is listening by phone, viewing by broadcast, or by live stream. In short, our mission is what we do on a day-to-day basis. This focus is on providing prompt quality services and safety of our personnel throughout our entire organization. Our vision is what we strive for on a day-to-day basis. With that, we strive for excellence in everything that we do. Moving over to slide number 3. There are a host of goals and objectives that we have, some of which are shared by members of this very committee. 2, for example, are Atlanta Fire's facilities replacement and new renovations, as well as our response time and workload. Both of these will be covered in greater detail within this presentation. We have other goals and objectives, three of which are: we are constantly wanting to provide a safe working environment for all of Atlanta Fire members. This goal speaks to the safety of the men and women who run into burning buildings, who work on emergency medical incidents, who extricate persons from vehicles in the middle of the interstate, who perform hazardous or technical rescues. Also, we're thinking about the men and women who work within traditional office settings or warehouse settings, and even those who are consistently in contact with the public. We also want to maintain necessary facilities and fleet enhancement. As new regulations, requirements, and other variances come into place, our desire is to remain current and able to meet any relevant needs to conduct our business. This includes, but not limited to, working closely with DEAM to locate a training site for our 100 fire recruits who are actively training now, as well as our incumbent firefighters and other personnel. Finally, our desire is to maintain fiscal responsibility and transparency. This is especially relevant to how we have addressed procurement during the COVID-19 pandemic. We are constantly working hand in hand with our city's procurement team as we plan and execute purchases. As we look at slide number 4, this presentation will briefly discuss how our organizational priorities align. We have service excellence, staffing and staffing strategies, fleet, facility enhancement, and construction. Over on slide number 5, titled Service Excellence, the photos that are shown are of a couple of recent incidents of our firefighters working in fire suppression, as well as how we prepare ourselves when we respond to medical incidents. On slide number 6, as it relates to service excellence, we are constantly working to maintain our performance benchmarks for turnout times, travel times, as well as response times. Each of you have heard of these terms before, but I'll highlight the numbers just for your reference. For our turnout times in structure fires, the turnout time that we are seeking is 2 minutes and 3 seconds. We refer to it as our benchmark. For travel times for structure fires, we are trying to get to those incidents at 5 minutes and 9 seconds. For structure fires unit response time, we're looking at trying to get there at a total of 7 minutes and 12 seconds. Now, of course, turnout time is exactly what it's saying, how quickly it takes us to get on the apparatus and start moving from the time in which we receive the call. Our travel time is how long it takes us to actually get to the call. And, of course, unit response time is from the time the call comes over the air until that unit gets on scene. In EMS, the same times are measured, or we have similar benchmarks. For EMS calls, we require our personnel to respond, to have a turnout time of at least 1 minute and 50 seconds. For travel time, it's 5 minutes and 9 seconds, and unit response time is 6 minutes and 59 seconds. We consistently meet our turnout time, and as discussed previously, this is the variable that we have the most control over. Another point of service excellence involves our annual report. We have produced our 2019 Atlanta Fire Annual Report, and it highlights many of our successes as well as statistical information about our unit and personnel. Finally, COVID-19 preparation and response. During this pandemic, Atlanta Fire created a detailed response plan. We also took several aggressive and proactive measures that focused on keeping our members safe while providing quality services. We also instituted temperature screens at every work location. This was done very, very early within the pandemic that we're experiencing now. We increased communications as well as the method and frequency of those communications. Our fire chief mentioned our safety stand-down or our safety updates that are conducted weekly and live streamed for all members of Atlanta Fire. We also created an incident action plan and facilitated several actions in the event of a need for mass quarantine of firefighters. Finally, as we keep in mind that we are one Atlanta, Atlanta Fire Rescue Department has assisted other city departments with various resources as they become either available or as they are needed. As we move to calls for service on slide number 7, I want to remind you that these calls include structure fires, auto fires, medical incidents, hazmat calls, technical rescues, special operations, and a host of other calls that we respond to, that we have responded to at least during this third quarter period. As the numbers indicate, in January there were a total of 7,854 calls for service. In February, there were nearly 300 less calls. This could, of course, have been influenced by the month of February being short. However, if you consider that in March, we had a total of 7,076 calls for service, it lends to the conclusion that something drastic happened. This was directly related to our aggressive collaboration with Atlanta 911 and Grady EMS. We believe that our low exposure numbers that the fire chief spoke on earlier are directly related to this adjustment in our response matrix and how we manage this pandemic. Now let's look at our calls for service, our call response wait time on slide number 8. For the purpose of this chart, we refer to our wait time as the time in which our units are on scene until the time in which they get back in service. We have discovered that wall times in emergency facilities influences our wait times for ambulances to respond to emergencies in which fire units are waiting on the scene with the patient. Councilmember Hillis, you know, of course, we've had many conversations and lengthy conversations in reference to these, what we now call wall times, and how they influence what we're actually doing. Our 90th percentile for time on scene is 34 minutes and 6 seconds for downtown. So what does this actually look like? Well, fire arrives on scene to a medical emergency that requires an ambulance transport. The unit provides initial care and waits with the patient until the ambulance arrives. As the unit arrives and the patient care is transferred to the ambulance, the fire unit gets back in service, and then the time stops. So that's how we come up with the 34 minutes and 6 seconds at the 90th percentile. On a considerably different note, though, at the airport, our Atlanta firefighters actually transport patients. The time starts when the unit arrives on scene of a medical incident. Atlanta Fire ambulances arrive on scene with that Atlanta Fire initial unit. They then transport the patient to the hospital and return back to the airport property and get in service. The time stops once they get back in service. So the 90th percentile on of the on-scene time is 46 minutes and 24 seconds for our airport firefighters. On slide number 9, it introduces priority number 2, which is staffing and staffing strategies. On slide 10 is our authorized staffing, or our FTE, for this period that we are reporting on. It was 889 authorized within the general fund, and 260 FTEs for the enterprise fund, totaling 1,149 for the period. Attrition is addressed on the next slide, being slide number 11. Our attrition includes retirement, resignations, dismissals, terminations, and deceased members. During this quarter, we had 22 members to retire, and 21 of those were sworn. There were 19 resignations of sworn firefighters. 9 additional civilians resigned. There were a total of 5 persons who were dismissed. All 5 were sworn positions. Slide number 12 introduces priority number 3, facilities and fleet. Slide 13 offers our facilities and key related accomplishments. Station 22 and Station 36 are now fully funded, of course. Obviously, due to the pandemic that we're dealing with, several things had to be postponed considerably. But those are fully funded, and we are looking forward to setting a groundbreaking date. Stations 5, 9, 11, and 38. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback here. But Stations 5, 9, 11, and 38 all have completed kitchen renovations. Station 26 has a major renovation that is now complete. Of course, the ribbon cutting ceremony was held towards the end of February. Station 40 had another major renovation. Station 40, of course, is at the airport. That is complete. Our current burn building, it was demolished back on May 13th of this year, which was really significant for us. The replacement burn building, it's underway in the procurement process, making way for the new modular units that we have spoke on before. Fire station number 2, renovation, major renovation at Station 2. Those firefighters are happy to be back in their station as well. The community is as well. Station 21 has kitchen renovations going on, ADA, as well as waterproofing. All of that is underway as we speak. Finally, Station 32 at the airport is in the design phase. Construction is scheduled to begin sometime in March of 2021. And that concludes our third quarter presentation. I will turn it back over to Fire Chief Slaughter.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And with that, Madam Chair, we're prepared to answer any questions you and or any of the other members of the council may have.
Okay, I'm trying to log back in. Do any of my colleagues have questions at this point?
This is Councilmember Winslow. I just wanted to ask the targeted times that that you stated. Going from the fire station to a fire. Are those personal times are those personal goals that you set, or are those goals for accreditation?
Right. Those times that I mentioned are ones that we have set. And the great thing about being an accredited agency is that they allow you to create your standards. But you have to have reason and rhyme, if you will, rhyme and reason why you've created those particular standards, because they, of course, understand that every community is different, the streets are different, and so forth. So those are our standards, and they're actually pretty aggressive, though.
Okay, yeah, 2 minutes and something, that's real aggressive. But that's great, if you can, at least come within, a minute of that time, that's wonderful. Okay, it was a good report. Yeah.
Councilmember Winslow, in addition to that, this is Chief Slaughter. We looked at years of historical response data, as well as response data from other big city departments, somewhat comparable to AFRD.
Okay.
And we developed performance standards that we believe were obtainable, but at the same time would force us to be our best selves, if you will. And so these standards, these performance standards that we set are industry best practice for a department this size.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember some old numbers were like 4 minutes and something, but that was several years ago. So, I applaud you for trying to get, for having that goal.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Mr. Hillis, I believe you're next. Or maybe we can take Mr. Faruqi, if you don't mind, Mr. Hillis. Mr. Faruqi, didn't you say you may have to leave pretty soon? Or have you changed that?
Yes, Chairman Shepherd. That's okay. I just have one question.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Faruqi go, Mr. Hillis, and then I'll come back to you, okay?
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councilmember Hillis, for your patience and flexibility. A very quick question, Chief. You may have touched on this in the presentation. I may have missed it, and if so, I apologize. How many people are we averaging on a truck right now per call?
Right now, we're averaging 3 and 3. And if you remember, for a very long time, I was pushing for 4 and 3, 4 on the engine and 3 on the truck. But to be totally honest with you, Councilmember, that was not realistic based on the staffing that we currently had. And so what it was forcing me to do is utilize the same group of firefighters over and over again. And what I started to notice was fatigue was starting to set in. So what we did was I modified the staffing, and so now we're averaging 3 and 3, 3 on the engine and 3 on the truck, and we build in an additional unit to our response so we can make sure we have enough firefighters on each incident.
And if I could ask one quick follow-up, and I will be done, Councilmember Hillis, so thank you. Is the aspiration or the goal to at some point get staffing to where we can have 4 on an engine, or is that viewed as not as necessary at this time? And I know we're entering a period of fiscal constraint, and so staffing levels are likely to be constant, if not decreased potentially. And so I'm just kind of curious where you guys are with the mythical 4 on a truck, or an engine, excuse me.
Oh, I absolutely say it's necessary. As a matter of fact, in some high-density areas such as Buckhead, we actually need 5 firefighters on a rig. But that's just not our reality right now. We have 101 fire recruits that we're trying to get trained, certified, and to the field. And once we get them graduated into the field, our staffing numbers will dramatically improve. So that's the focus right now. We believe that we can operate safely in the mode that we're in. We're going to send as much equipment as we need to get enough firefighters on the scene. And the beauty of it is our city is large enough to where we have actually more firefighters on duty on any given day than probably every other fire department in the state of Georgia.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Faruqi. Mr. Hillis, and then after that, Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Chairwoman Shepherd, and thank you, Councilmember Faruqi. You actually got into one of my questions, so thank you for that. A follow-up, I guess, related to that is you mentioned and thank you, Chief Slaughter and Chief Cindy, for the presentation as well. We have 101 recruits, and I take it those are already counted into your filled positions, even though they're recruits. So we're at I believe you showed in your presentation, about a 12% vacancy rate. So we have 101 recruits in training. How long is AFRD's training academy?
Currently, it's 11 months.
Of course, where are the 101 in the process? Are they all in the same class, or are those different classes?
No, they're spread out over 3 classes, and of course, COVID-19 set us back. Chief Smith, I think you're on the call. Can you tell us exactly where each of the classes are?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Class 19-1 is approximately 4 to 5 months out from from entering the field of completion. They're awaiting EMS testing. 19-2 is starting their clinicals, and they're waiting to begin their AEMT. They also are approximately 4 to 5 months out. 19-3 was the last class that was started at ATC, and they are approximately 7 to 8 months out from completion. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And are we currently still accepting applications for a following class?
No, we're not.
Gotcha. Following up on what was briefly discussed in the budget presentations, I have some heartburn with not funding at least some vacancies. Maybe we don't fund as many as we did last year, but that's a discussion for the budget to be had. The other aspect of that is, and we've discussed this many times, a lateral hiring program, which say the current focus is on getting the current recruits we have through the academy. But to me, those aren't really mutually exclusive. I think we can do both, and just we want to get the best candidates, whether they're new or they're experienced. So where are we with? I know you gave them the feedback in the budget presentation, but where is that discussion stalled at, and where do you see us going from here with a possible lateral program?
Right. And so I have tabled that program, and I'll just tell you why. As fire chief, I am not sold on the fact that other firefighters in the state of Georgia can just come to the Atlanta Fire Department and fight fire in the big city. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's a simple transition. It's not. I was the training chief back in 2007 when Stephen Solomon, our last line of duty death, came through. I had him for 28 days. He went to the field and was fatally injured after 4 shifts. I was told whenever we hired Firefighter Solomon, and I hate to use his name, but it sticks in my mind because it hurts so bad. But I was told he had 8 years of experience in the city of Macon, and that he was, veteran firefighter ready to go. 4 shifts in the field, and we were preparing to bury him. Now, could that have happened to a firefighter that we took through the 11 months of training? Absolutely. But we'll never know. We only took him through 28 days, had no earthly idea of how many live fire scenarios he had seen in the city of Macon, and we'll never know. So I, as fire chief, am not about to put anyone on one of these fire engines, having seen some of the situations that they get in over my last 30 years, without absolutely being 100% sure that they're ready. And that's my reservation about just bringing people into this city and putting them on our rigs. Some fire chiefs don't have that reservation. But what I always say is maybe they've never buried a firefighter before. I have.
Right. Well, it seems like we're on the same page with, most of that. But if the previous lateral program was 28 days, maybe a more robust lateral program isn't 28 days. Maybe it's, something less than 11 months. Anytime we can save, not going through the basics, would certainly save us time and getting our numbers up. So have you looked at it like an expanded, where you would be comfortable with having a lateral program that's, like I said, not a quick 28-day program, making sure we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's to lessen or quell those concerns that you have and that you mentioned?
Absolutely. So here's where I am. But the other challenge for me is I will have to dedicate some internal resources to conducting even a modified training program, which right now I have to completely dedicate to the 101 that we have in a paid status, and I'm not getting any staff hours out of them. On top of that, we have to keep the incumbent firefighters who are already in the field trained and keep their certifications up. So that's another limitation, is I can't pull resources away from all of what we have going on. But we ever get to the point where we can put a program together that I feel comfortable that they can get the prerequisite knowledge, skills, and abilities that they need. I'm not as concerned about the EMS portion, the EMT patch. That should be good. It's fighting fire in a high-rise building and all of the other things that are unique to the city of Atlanta that a firefighter even in College Park may not face. But if we can get to that point where I can reallocate those resources, then we can revisit the lateral program. Because on its face, I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just I know better. It's not as foolproof as some people make it out to be.
Understood. This may be for Chief Kennedy. So back to those EMS times, those wait times. Can you tell me once again the accounting on each of those times, downtown versus airport, where AFRD transports?
Yes, I will. We of course use the 90th percentile of those of the on-scene times. So for downtown, the 90th percentile is 34 minutes and 6 seconds. And for the airport, the 90th percentile on scene is 46 minutes and 24 seconds.
But what is included in each of those times? I understand they're different because in the airport we're transporting versus in the city where we're waiting on Grady or another agency to respond.
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, these are all medical incidents that we're including in this population, and basically the 34 minutes and 6 seconds is in reference to the downtown, and that's just from the instance when when our fire unit arrives on scene until that fire unit gets back in service. So obviously we have to wait until an ambulance is there. We transfer patient care, and that will actually allow us to get back in service. So that 90th percentile is.
So for the downtown time, that 34 minutes starts when the unit arrives on the scene until when it's back in service.
That's correct, yes.
Generally, that's when EMS agency arrives.
That's correct, yes.
And so when are the start and stop times for the airport?
Okay, so the airport, the start time is when the unit arrives on scene until that unit transports, goes to the hospital, drops the patient off at the hospital, and returns back to airport property and gets back in service.
So they're not back in service until they're physically back at the airport?
I think once they get into a striking distance, if you will, once they are pretty much there, they go ahead and get back in service. They're not going to get in service, at the hospital all the time. They typically will be very close to being back on the airport property, if not on the airport property prior to getting back in service.
So basically the difference between the two is in the airport response time, we're including the trip.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. I have some additional concerns, but I'll touch base with you and the chief online, specific to Station 22.
Yes, sir.
Thank you both. And thank you, Chairwoman Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Hillis. Next is Mr. Bond Can I just insert real quickly, Mr. Bond, just one moment? I want to thank you all, Chief, for being out on the streets this past weekend. That was great, awesome what you all did in terms of giving out the masks out in the communities all across the city. That I really want to appreciate y'all. I'm very proud of y'all for doing that. Thank you. Mr. Bond.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chief Kennedy. Thank you, Chief Slaughter. Thank you what you did this weekend. I knew Joshua Stoops personally, and I know that he was really wanting to be a part of the AFRD family, and what you did in his memory, I think, was fantastic. I want to thank you for your presentation, and I do have a question about the staffing and the city budget. I know that the pay raises will be coming online in this budget. Has that affected any of your recruiting to get some of your vacancies filled, or is it too early for that?
Well, we had never had a real issue. This is Chief Slaughter, Councilman. We had never really had an issue attracting people to the organization. What our main issue was over the previous fiscal period was retaining people. And so what we've seen over the past 12 months is a dramatic decrease in resignation. Now, we have people that are coming into the retirement arena, and there's not much we can do about that. But in terms of members leaving the organization to go to other fire departments, that has slowed tremendously. And I attribute that to the salary increase.
That's good news. And I just want to, again, I'm not going to belabor the conversation. I do want to talk to you at some point in the future, and want to thank you for allowing AFRD to help us out at Roselle Fan a couple of weeks ago for our food distribution. And I know we're working with Deputy Chief Smith to do it again, perhaps at Station 20. We fed about 600 people, and AFRD was well represented out there. So thank you for that, and thank you for the tremendous risk you guys take on every call. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Next, we have Ms. Boone.
Excellent presentation, Chief. Thank you all so much, and your entire team. Kudos for covering multiple intersections this weekend, and not only giving the math, but folks that took the time to look at the educational materials. It was really, really appreciated, and it was some great information. And sending those guys out to the COVID testing events around the city has been really helpful. So keep up the good work. We are here to support you all, and just thank you, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that it, Ms. Boone?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Boone. I have a couple of questions. You know, when we talk about those particular times, again, I'm going to go back to your response time in terms of getting back and forth. Did you all create this? Is there a particular standard across, you know, your organization in terms of fire, in terms of response time? Is there a particular standard that you all go by?
There are several standards that we look at. We looked at a emergency response mobilization study. Yeah, it really encompassed 21 fire departments of comparable size. We looked at that study 5 or 6 years ago, and again we took that and we looked at the historical performance of our units across the city. We also looked at NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, 1710, and we married all of those benchmarks and performance measures, and we created what we have now, which again, I must say is industry best practice, and I'm so proud of the men and women for reaching the 90th percentile that they've been doing consistently over the past 24 months.
Okay. So, okay, but you all created, but there's no industry standards per se, or our average industry standards. Or is there? And I guess would you answer that for me? Is there?
There is a standard NFPA 1710, but to be totally honest with you, council members, it has no scientific backing behind it. It was just an arbitrary standard that the NFPA committee put together, and most fire chiefs in major cities are migrating away from NFPA 1710. That's more of like a smaller department, but a department this size, you need to take this time. You need to have a pilot group. You need to figure out what's going on in your city, a city this size, and you need to develop a performance standard based on that analysis. And that's what we've done.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing I'm just going to comment on, I did get a call from the administration in reference to the Fire Academy and the shutdown of it. And I concur, based on what I'm hearing, and I think you're probably where I am, is that Fire Academy should not be open. It's really at a point where it probably would cost more money to fix it than it'd be better to just go and find another spot. So, at this point, I hear you saying that we have 101 folks who are going to complete training. Once we do that, until we can find a different location, we will not be doing training. But a part of your budget will not be for 2021 not doing any training. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. If I articulated that, I apologize. We will be doing training.
You didn't articulate that. I just want to be sure that I heard that correct. All right.
Yeah, we will absolutely be doing training. The good part about it is a lot of our classroom work, the classroom portion of recruit training, is accomplished through a software called Target Solutions, so we can do a lot of internet-based training. Now, when it comes to the live fire training that we must do in order to certify them in the state of Georgia, we're going to have to, I hate to say it this way, but beg, borrow, and steal the same way we've been doing over the last, 3 or 4 years. I have to say that this is probably the single greatest challenge for our organization right now, is to find a suitable training location so that we can not only do our recruit training, but also our incumbent training. But we've been working well with the administration and DEAM, and I believe we're probably going to identify a facility in short order.
Yeah, I know that they're telling me the same thing, that they're with 2 or 3 several locations. But again, this will only be temporary from what I understand also, is that they're looking at maybe 1 to 2 to 3 years, because ultimately what we want to have done is that we want to build out a new academy for fire and police. And I was hoping that we'll be going toward that somewhere in the near future, but now in light of this COVID-19, I'm not sure where we're going to be financially. But according to the administration, we're looking at possibly doing something at least once we find a place from 1 to 3 years until we can look at where we are with the academy. But I appreciate y'all continuing the training, and I'll be keeping in touch in terms of what space we're looking at, so that we can move forward to get training started again. We can't just hold it at bay for too long. It's really important we keep people trained up, especially in terms of attrition and all the things that are happening. So thank you for that. Any other questions from my colleagues? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Councilmember, you'll see us from time to time, and I'll normally try to send you a text as I used to do with Councilmember Hillis when he was chair. You'll see us going to support other jurisdictions on swift and flood water rescues and things like that. And we do that because it develops a real good relationship with those fire chiefs in those communities. And then when we ask to come in and use their burn building, most of the time they're amenable to that. But I think we sort of won out welcome in Henry County and in Douglas County and DeKalb County a long time ago. But we're gonna get the facilities we need, and we're gonna get this 101 trained.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for any of my colleagues? If not, we will move on to our next part of our agenda.
Chairwoman Shepherd, I have one follow-up question.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Hillis.
Chief Sauter, I was just wanted, I know this was discussed quite a few times when Councilmember McIntyre was on the committee, but where are we in possibly identifying a location, a solution around the Peachtree Battle area in District 7, or District 8, rather?
Yeah, we had totally tabled that. We were looking at a church, and I think it got to the point, Councilmember Hillis, where it was getting difficult to actually even staff the apparatus that I already had in service. I tabled the idea of expanding a couple of more EMS units because I just didn't have the staffing to put on the units. Even two-person paramedic trucks, I didn't have enough staffing in order to do that. So, long story short, we tabled that.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Thank you, Mr. Hillis. We'll now move on to the consent agenda, and we have claims favorable and unfavorable before us. So with that, we have items 1 through 10 that are favorable. If anyone has questions, please let me know. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve favorable claims.
Move approval, Smith.
Second, Hillis.
All right, that was motion by Ms. Smith and second by Mr. Hillis. If there are no questions, we're ready for the vote.
One moment, Madam Chair. Vote is open.
And Councilmember Shepherd, I'm on the phone, so I vote in favor. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Winslow.
The vote is closed, Madam Chair. That's 6 yeas, 0 nays. Those items are favorable.
Did you get Ms. Winslow as a part of that count?
Yes, Madam Chair. That's unanimous. That's favorable.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to claims with unfavorable recommendations, and that's items 11 through 20. Is there a motion?
Smith, move approval.
Second
by Shepherd. Second by Shepherd.
The vote is open.
Thank you. Have we finished the vote?
Just one moment, Madam Chair. Ms. Winslow, Councilmember Winslow?
In favor.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. Those items are reversed.
All right, the motion carries. We're now up under items on the agenda, number 8, ordinance for first read. Ms. Lindo, could you sound that, please? That one?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Oh, no, it's more than one. That's it. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, we have items 1 to 3. Yes.
Okay.
First item is ordinance 20-1373, an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee amending the 2020 Intergovernmental Grant Fund budget, Department of Police, by adding to anticipations and appropriations the amount of $1,380,996 for fiscal year 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program to support law enforcement agencies from the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Programs, and the Bureau of Justice Assistance and for other purposes. Item number 2 is ordinance 20-1374. It's an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the city to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the state of Georgia and ratifying the prior execution of same to provide for the payment of public safety expenditures through UASI's Homeland Security Federal Grant Program on behalf of the Atlanta Police and Fire Departments in the amount of $380,335.86 for purchase of equipment to enhance regional response to terroristic attacks and all hazardous responses, and for other purposes. Item number 3, Ordinance 20-1375. This is an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee to correct ordinance 18-1132 to amend the account number utilized to execute the lease payments associated with the CPI Phillips Plaza Limited Liability Company for the 25-year lease of Fire Station number 3 and for other purposes.
Thank you, Ms. Lindor. We don't have to take action on that today, so we'll move now to our regular agenda. Up under I, ordinance for second read. So would you sound the first piece of legislation, Ms. Lindor?
Yes, Madam Chair. That's item number 6, 20-1361. This is an ordinance by Council Members Dustin Hillis, Joyce M. Shepherd, Amir Faroki, Cleta Winslow, Carla Smith, Marcia Collier Overstreet. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. That's wrong page. If I may begin again. That's item number 4.
Right.
Item number 4. Yes. That's 20-1354. This is an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee to correct Ordinance 19-1742, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on January 30th, 2020, and approved by operation of law on January 30th, 2020, for the purpose of including local match funds in the amount of $2 million and 0 cents, and the account number listed herein to remain unchanged, and all of the provisions to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
All right. Is there anyone here to discuss this from any department? Is there any questions from my colleagues?
Move approval.
There's a motion.
Ms. Winslow, I'm sorry.
Ms. Winslow, is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Winslow, second by Hillis. If we have no comments, we're ready for the vote.
The vote is open. One moment. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. That motion is favorable.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to item number 5, 20-0-1359. Ms. Lindo.
Yes, Madam Chair, that's Ordinance 20-1359. This is an ordinance by Council Member Andre L. Boone to waive the requirements of Article 1, Section 1-102 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, to ratify the mayor's action in accepting a donation from the Atlanta Police Foundation of 200 mobile broadband hotspots valued at $200,000 for the purpose of providing access to internet service through 2022 to Atlanta students through the City of Atlanta Center of Hope at no cost to the city and for other purposes.
All right. Are there questions from my colleagues?
Move approval, Boone.
All right. There's a motion to approve. Second by Mr. Hillis. We're ready for the vote.
One moment. The vote is open.
All right. Ms. Winslow, let us know how you want to vote.
It's in favor.
Thank you.
Just one moment. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. That motion is favorable.
All right, the motion carries. We're now on item number 6. Ms. Lindo.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is Ordinance 20-1361. It's an ordinance by Council Members Dustin Hillis, Joyce M. Shepherd, Andre Dickens, Amir Faroki, Cleta Winslow, Carla Smith, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Andrea L. Boone, Howard Shook, J.P. Mathakite, Antonia Brown, Jennifer N. Ide, Michael Julian Bond, Madeline M. Archibald, and Matt Westmoreland to amend Chapter 150, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, General Rules of Vehicle Operation, to add Section 150-73 to be entitled Street Racing and Reckless Driving Exhibitions to set penalties for violations and for other purposes.
Mr. Hillis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So So first of all, I'd like to thank all of my colleagues for signing on to this legislation that I've been working on for some time and supporting it. As you all know, because this is a problem across our city and really across the nation, and many of our sister cities have passed similar ordinances to combat the street racing and reckless driving behavior that has shut down our highways and streets. So basically, this ordinance sets up a dedicated section in our code in regards to street racing. What currently happens is when our officers encounter this, and I'll just give a shout out to the Atlanta Police Department after 2 weekends of, the chief admitted we didn't do very well. They did a great job last weekend, made a number of arrests and impounds, and citations were issued. But currently what happens, the Georgia State Code only allows us to cite those who are actively driving, doing the donuts, racing in the street. What this ordinance will do is kind of fill a hole and will make it illegal to participate. People that set these up, people that are filming, recording, being a passenger, whether they're hanging out of the sunroof, a passenger side window, filming in the street, broadcasting the event, and I believe most importantly allows them to go after organizers. As I think we all know, APD has a intelligence unit that monitors these situations because 300 to 500 people just don't show up and decide they want to do donuts in the street. These are well-organized events on social media, and this would also go after them and hopefully stop many of these situations before they even are started. This lays out penalties, which I hope it never has to be used. I hope the word gets out that we're getting very aggressive against combating this issue that has been on the rise. Really, like I said, across the nation, certainly in the city since the beginning of the year, even before COVID happened, and seemed to make them even more aggressive. So this just gives APD an additional tool to not only go after those operating cars, but those who are organizing these events and participating in them. So again, thank you to all my colleagues for being co-sponsors on this, signing on this legislation, and I just ask for your support in passing this today, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Boone. Thank you, Mr. Hillis and Mrs. Boone. I'd just like to hear from the police department, if anybody from the police department or the law department who would like to speak on this legislation, and just making sure we're all on the same page. And I'm sure you did your homework, Mr. Hillis. I just want to hear from police and fire on this legislation because it's really key. Like you said, it's all over the city. It's everywhere. It's my district. I've watched, and they have gotten a lot better in the last couple of weeks. I've seen them really, the police department staging and things like that. But I really appreciate, Mr. Hillis, what you're doing. So, did anybody from the police department speak on this? Anybody here from the police?
One moment,
Good
Madam
evening.
Chair, official, please.
Hello, this is Deputy Chief Peake. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, actually. Deputy Chief Timothy Peake from the Atlanta Police Department. We are certainly thankful, Madam Chair and members of the Atlanta City Council, for you all to sponsor and add this ordinance. We are certainly behind it. We believe that it will give us the necessary tools that we need to get ahead of these events before they get to the city and get started, based on being able to conduct investigations and determine who's actually organizing it, as well as the participation. That's huge for us, and so we are certainly supportive of this ordinance, and thank you for your consideration and moving forward with it.
So, Chief, so how will we be able to get the word out, and how is it out there now? In the last 2 or 3 weeks, y'all been pretty aggressive. But what will happen in terms of getting the word out on this and really being able to use it?
So if passed, we could certainly do our educational piece with our public affairs unit so that they can push information out ultimately so that we could ultimately deter the activity from even happening. We have had some great successes over the last 2 weeks by utilizing an enormous amount of resources along with our partners from Fulton County Sheriff, Georgia State Patrol, and Clayton County Sheriff Department. What this will do with the educational piece is to push it out so that ultimately we dealt with things once they got into the city. By utilizing this ordinance and having the intelligence piece to it, we could reach out prior to them even getting to the city to say, hey, listen, what you're doing is in violation of Atlanta City Code, and we could stop it right then and there. And if not, we could at least know for absolute certainty that they've been warned through way of media as well as our reaching out and dealing with those organizers that we have been able to identify over the past few weeks or months.
So let me ask you a question. I have a place on Metropolitan Parkway where they just gather. I'm sure y'all know where that place is, on Metropolitan Parkway. A week before last, I actually saw y'all out there staging. You all were out there with the folks. They were in this huge parking lot. And you all had police officers all over the parking lot. And you all, it was like a standoff. It was like, you all are out here. We know you're getting ready to stage to go out. We know you're out here, so we let you know as soon as you pull off or whatever you're going to do, this is going to be it. And that was a staging area. So this new legislation, will it be able to allow you, because you know that that's what's going to happen based on you tracking this through social media, whatever way y'all track it, will y'all be able to just have a standoff there, or would you be able to go up and talk to someone and just say, it's over, shut it down, from a legal perspective? How does that work?
Well, yes, this gives us the opportunity to certainly have those conversations with those organizers and to put a stop to it before us having to wait to see the activity. Of course, what we want to do is make sure that we are focusing on the actual intent of the ordinance as well so that we don't step out of line on anything else. But the intel piece is what's huge. And so ultimately, again, we'll be able to, even prior to them getting to the lot, there are going to be people that will still attempt to challenge whatever laws that are out there, but this gives us that piece to have those early conversations and to go ahead and move forward from a enforcement standpoint to ensure that it's clear that it's illegal for number one, and for number two, that we will move forward with prosecutions if they're going to continue with the activity. But yes, ma'am. And so we'll still have units out there. We will still be following these groups. We will still have our patrol officers in those locations that we know have historically had this type of activity. But it gives us, again, that piece to where the organizing and the participation in these events, that's something that we've never been able to deal with on the front end. So, we support it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hillis, and I'm assuming you already went over this with the law department. Is that correct, Mr. Hillis?
Yeah, so we've, myself and Ms. Susan Garrett have worked to refine the draft a few times, and this is what we've come up with. And, of course, if they want to have any additional conversations before this gets to the full council, I'll certainly entertain those.
Okay. Well, thank you. Do you have anything else you want to say, Mr. Hillis, before I move on to the next speaker?
I do not. Just
okay.
I'd introduce this and hope that we can all support it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Hillis, for all your work. Hold on. Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm quick. I just want to thank APD for what they did in cracking down on these organizers and those who would follow them to try to take over our streets. Just want to compliment Councilmember Hillis for taking the leadership on this issue. I think this is a dramatic step to making sure that our streets are safe and that our pedestrians are safe. There was a young lady that was killed here in Atlanta, I believe in an accident over on Moreland Avenue as a result of people speeding through and taking advantage of the lack of traffic. So just kudos to you, Councilmember Hillis, and thank APD for what they do on a daily basis. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion, I believe, before us. Mr. Hillis, you made a motion. Who made the second?
Councilmember Boone, Madam Chair.
All right. We're ready for the vote.
One moment, please.
And I'm in favor. I'm in favor, Councilmember, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow. Are we finished?
One moment, Madam Chair. Is Mr. Faroki there? Yes, we have everyone. The vote is 7 yeas, 0 nays. Madam Chair, the item is favorable.
All right. The item is approved. We're now moving from the resolutions. Item number 7. Ms. Lindo, can you sound that, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is Resolution 20R 3967. This is a resolution by Council Members Andrea L. Boone, Andre Dickens, and Justin Hillis requesting the Atlanta Police Department Code Enforcement Division and the Municipal Court of Atlanta to pursue all enforcement measures necessary to ensure that the owner of property located at 193 and 213 Fairfield Road, Northwest, A and B, with a parcel number listed herein, A and B Apartments LLC, reimburse all costs incurred by the city related to the removal of 17.5 tons of debris from the property and for other purposes. And Madam Chair, I do have an amendment which has been forwarded to the committee. This amendment,
yes, I
this
do.
amendment will insert the parcel number in the caption for 213 Fairburn Road, as well as add it to the first whereas and also in the be it resolved clause.
Ms. Boone, do you want to make a motion for that amendment?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, accept that amendment, Madam Chair.
And I'll second.
One moment.
Are there any
The
questions
vote is
from my
open.
colleagues? I'm going to ask, is there any questions from my colleagues?
Madam Chair, I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Councilmember Boone. I would like to ask everyone's support on this very important piece. We would not believe the deplorable condition that over 200 residents are living in. Public Works went out, moved 17.5 tons, and as of today, there is still more trash that has not been picked up. Little kids are being just victimized by this. So we have to do something. I have to get in touch with our city law department regarding this. The owners have no regard for what is going on and for human and health safety. So please support this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boone. Now, I'm just going to ask you real quietly, more openly. Are they in code enforcement court? I know they got to be in court, right?
Yes, we are doing everything we possibly can with the help of all of our departments. But this guy lives in California and has completely ignored all of our pleas. And we can't spend every day chasing one of an apartment company to do what is right by the citizens of Atlanta.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Boone. I sympathize with you. I have the same situation in my district. Fortunately enough, the owner was here in Atlanta, and he did clean it up. Let's hope it stay clean, but we still have them in court also. So I understand. I truly just absolutely support you all the way. All right, we're ready for the vote. To vote is
Madam Chair, that vote is that's 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Bond, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment Councilwoman Boone for her leadership on this issue. I've been in a couple of meetings with her in support of the community, and she is absolutely right. You would not believe the on the pale of belief for what the derelict landowner has done. So the committee's support is absolutely important, and Councilwoman Boone, kudos to you for your leadership.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. So we have accepted the amendment. Now there's a motion to approve as amended. Ms. Boone, is that coming from you?
Yes, a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second.
Oh, Mr. Bond, go ahead and second. We're ready
The
for
vote
the
is
vote.
open. The vote is open, Madam Chair.
And Madam Chair, this is Cleta Winslow, and I'm in favor.
Thank you, Ms. Winslow.
Mm-hmm.
One moment. Everyone, please vote.
Are we still waiting?
We're waiting. Everyone, please vote. Vote is open. Waiting for.
Please vote. Please vote.
Okay, one moment now. We have everyone. One moment, Madam Chair. And Mr. Hillis, we're waiting for your vote.
Looks like my e-boardroom is frozen. I'll try to restart, but I'm a yay.
Thank you. The vote's closed, Madam Chair. That's 7 yeas, 0 nays. That item is favorable as amended.
All right. Thank you. We're now at item number 8. Ms. Lindo.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I can take item number 8 and 9 together, those are both settlements.
That would be great.
Okay, item number 8 is 20R 3992. It's a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against defendant in the case of Tammy Glaze versus Atlanta Police Department in the amount of $67,500, authorizing the settlement amount to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein, and authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to distribute the settlement amount and for other purposes. Item number 9, 20R 3993, is a resolution by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the settlement of all claims against defendants in the case of Joyce Webb versus City of Atlanta and Susan Garrett and Keith Brooks in their individual capacities. Civil action listed herein pending in the United States Court for the Northern District of Georgia, accounts listed herein, and authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to distribute the settlement amount in the amount of $86,000.00.
All right. Is there a motion? Motion to approve. Is there
Motion to approve.
Mr. Hillis, is it second? That's fine.
Yes.
We're ready for the vote.
Winslow.
Ms. Winslow is a yes, correct, Ms. Winslow?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
The vote is closed. 67 yeas, 0 nays. Madam Chair, those items are favorable.
Great. So now item number 10, could you sound that, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item number 10 is 20R 3994. It's a resolution by the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department to apply for and accept the fiscal year 2020 coronavirus emergency supplemental funding program to support law enforcement agencies from U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Programs, and Bureau of Justice Assistance in the amount of $1,380,996.00 with no matching funds for the purpose of promoting the safety of law enforcement officers and citizens and for other purposes.
All right. Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Hillis.
Second.
All right. We'll let Ms. Winslow second that, Mr. Hillis. Oh, I'm not sure if we can get back in anyway. But anyway, Ms. Winslow second. Let's move forward with the vote.
vote is open.
So you're going to have to ask you again, Mr. Hillis, how do you vote? Oh, you can vote. Okay, great.
Yes. The vote's closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. Madam Chair, the item is favorable.
Okay, the motion carries. We're now at held papers. Is there anything up in the held that will come off?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
All right, we're now at the end of the agenda. Is there anything else for the good of the body? Anything to my colleagues, any announcements, anything we need to know?
Madam Chair, thank you so much for this great meeting today.
Thank you, Ms. Bloom.
Yeah, I also want to
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, for running the meeting and being gracious when your committee was delayed. You ran a great meeting.
Thank you. It is 6:37. So, okay, thank you all for hanging in there with us.
Move to adjourn. Good meeting.
Thank you, caller. Y'all have a great evening.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Great meeting.
Bye. Bye-bye.